You have been lied to. For years, they sold you the dream, the perfect garden. They told you that to grow your own food, you needed to buy their products. You needed their expensive cedar raised beds, their plastic composting bins, their chemical fertilizers, and their branded soil mixes. They made you believe that growing food was a transaction, that nature required a subscription fee. They were wrong. And while you were spending hundreds of dollars every season, a quiet revolution was happening in the backyards of people who knew the secret. People who laughed at the garden centers. People who watched their plants explode with growth while spending exactly $0. Welcome to Everyday Harvest. Today, I am pulling back the curtain. I am revealing the method that makes traditional composting look like a slow, outdated chore. I am showing you how to build a growing system so productive, so self-sustaining, that it replaces the need for raised beds entirely. This is not a theory. This is not a fad. This is the garden the industry prays you never discover. Welcome to the $0 garden. We are going to start with the biggest scam in modern horticulture, the composting bin. For decades, you have been told that to turn your kitchen scraps into black gold, you need a container. You need to buy a tumbler, or build a 3-bin system, or spend weeks turning piles with a pitchfork. You have been told that composting is work, that it takes months, that it smells if you do it wrong. All of that is a lie designed to sell you plastic. The truth is much simpler, much older, and infinitely more efficient. The truth is that you do not need a bin. You do not need to turn compost. You do not need to babysit a pile for 6 months. You need to mimic the forest floor. Think about a forest. When was the last time you saw a ranger out there turning the leaves? When was the last time you saw a giant plastic tumbler full of deer droppings and fallen branches? You never have, because the forest is the master composter. It works without human intervention, and it works fast. This method is called in situ composting, or more powerfully, the subterranean engine. Here is how you kill your expensive compost bin forever. Instead of carrying your banana peels, coffee grounds, and eggshells to a stinking pile in the corner of your yard, you take them directly to the garden. You dig a hole, a simple trench about 12 inches deep right where you plan to plant your tomatoes next month. You dump your scraps in, you cover them with soil, and you walk away. That's it. You have just fed the most powerful workforce in the world, earthworms. Within days, they will find that feast. They will swarm your scraps, break them down, and pull them deep into the soil. They will digest them and excrete worm castings, a fertilizer so potent it makes store-bought compost look like dirt. And they do it all for free. But it gets better. As those scraps break down underground, they generate heat. They release carbon dioxide, which is pulled down to the roots of your plants. They create pockets of air in your soil, eliminating the need for tilling. You are not just composting. You are building a living, breathing ecosystem beneath your feet. The garden centers don't want you to know this, because if you stop buying compost, you stop coming to the store. If you realize that your waste stream is your fertilizer stream, you cut their profit margin in half overnight. Now, let's talk about the other great lie, the raised bed. Raised beds are beautiful. I will give them that. They look neat, they define a space, but they are also a cage. They are a container that limits the potential of your plants. The industry sold raised beds on the premise of better soil control and no weeds, but what they really sold you was a box that forces you to buy their soil. Think about it. You build a wooden box. You place it on top of your native dirt. Then you were told you have to fill it with bags and bags of premium raised bed mix. That's 10, 20, sometimes 50 bags of soil that you paid for. Then, at the end of the season, that soil degrades, it compacts, the nutrients are gone. So next year you need to buy more bags. You need their amendments. You need their top-ups. You're trapped in a cycle of dependency. The $0 garden breaks these chains by looking at the ground beneath your feet not as a problem, but as a solution. Native soil, even bad clay soil, is not your enemy.
It is a blank canvas with infinite potential. Instead of building a box on top of the ground, we are going to build a bed that is half in the ground. This is the hugelkultur principle, but we're going to call it the debris mound. Here's how you build a raised bed that costs nothing and outperforms every wooden box you have ever built, right here at Everyday Harvest. Start by sourcing your materials, but do not go to the hardware store. Look at the curb. Look at the alley. Look at the fallen branches in your yard after the last storm. Look at the cardboard boxes from your online deliveries. This is your lumber and your building material. Lay down that cardboard directly on the grass or weeds where you want your garden. Cardboard is the great suppressor. It smothers the grass, it blocks the light, and the worms will eat it. It turns into food. On top of that cardboard, you start piling. You pile your sticks, your twigs, your logs. This is the core. In a traditional raised bed, you have 6 inches of soil and then a hard pan underneath. Roots hit the bottom and stop. They are confined. In a debris mound, the roots hit wood, and wood, as it rots, is a sponge. It holds water like a reservoir. During a drought, your plants send roots into that rotting log and drink. During a rain, that wood soaks up the excess and stores it for later. On top of the sticks, you pile your leaves. Not bagged leaves from the store. The leaves you raked up last fall. The leaves your neighbors bagged and left on the curb. They are pure carbon. They are brown gold. Then, on top of the leaves, you put a thin layer of soil, maybe a bucket of dirt from that hole you dug for your kitchen scraps. That's it. That's your raised bed. You have just built a self-composting, self-watering, self-fertilizing machine. As the season goes on, the wood and leaves underneath break down. They settle. But as they break down, they release nutrients directly to the roots. You are not just growing plants, you are growing soil. The bed gets richer every year, not poorer. You never need to buy another bag of soil again. The garden centers hide this because if you build soil, you don't buy soil. It's that simple. But we're not done yet. We have to talk about the third pillar of the scam, the plants themselves. They want you to buy their tiny, fragile seedlings every spring. They want you to spend $5 or $6 on a single tomato plant that looks great in the store but struggles for weeks after you plant it because it's been coddled in a greenhouse. They want you to buy their hybrid seeds every year, seeds that are designed to not reproduce, forcing you to come back next season. The $0 garden laughs at this. The $0 garden uses volunteers. It uses perennials. It uses the plants that want to grow. Start with a potato from the store that grew an eye. Do not throw it away. Plant it in your debris mound. That one potato will give you 10 potatoes. Save one of those 10 for next year. You have just created infinite food from a piece of trash. Plant walking onions. They come back every year, multiplying, moving across your garden on their own. Plant garlic in the fall. It sits underground all winter and pops up in spring, long before anything else is ready. Plant asparagus once, and you will harvest it for the next 20 years. And then there are the seeds you eat. The seeds inside the squash you bought for dinner. The seeds from the pepper you sliced for a salad. The tomatoes that fall on the ground and rot. These are not waste. These are next year's crop. In the $0 garden, you let your best plants go to seed. You let the bolted lettuce shoot up and scatter its seeds in the wind. You let the dill drop where it stands. You let the cilantro go to flower for the bees, and then you let those seeds fall. Next year, you don't plant a garden, you harvest a garden that planted itself. This is the secret the industry fears most, the garden of neglect, the garden that thrives because you stopped controlling it and started cooperating with it. You see, the entire consumer gardening model is built on the concept of sterilization and control. Kill the bugs, buy the pesticide. Pull the weeds, buy the herbicide. Fertilize with the blue stuff, buy the chemicals. Build a box, buy the soil. It's a perpetual motion machine that only moves money from your pocket to theirs. The $0 garden is the rebellion. It is the understanding that nature does not need your money, it needs your waste. It needs your leaves, your sticks, your coffee grounds, your cardboard. It needs you to stop fighting it and start feeding it. When you stop seeing a weed as an enemy, you start seeing it as a resource. Dandelions, with their taproots, are mining calcium from deep in the subsoil and bringing it to the surface for your vegetables. Clover is fixing nitrogen from the air and feeding your hungry greens. When you pull a weed, you don't throw it away. You lay it down as mulch. You let it rot and feed the bed it came from. When you stop seeing bugs as an enemy, you start seeing balance. The aphids come, but then the ladybugs come. If you spray the aphids, you kill the ladybugs. If you let the system work, it balances itself. It costs you nothing. This is the garden they don't want you to have. It is a garden of abundance born from scarcity. It is a garden that takes the things you were throwing away and turns them into the things you need to survive. Imagine a spring where you don't have to go to the store. You walk outside. You look at the pile of leaves you piled up last November. You push them aside. Underneath, the soil is dark and crumbly and crawling with worms. You dig a small trench. You dump in the eggshells from breakfast and the coffee grounds from your morning cup. You cover it. You take a handful of seeds that you saved from last year's best tomato and you press them into the soil. You mark the spot with a stick you found on the ground. You water it with rainwater you collected in a bucket you found at a garage sale for 50 cents. You don't spend a dime. And 3 months later, you are harvesting tomatoes that taste like candy. You are digging up potatoes by the pound. You are picking beans from plants that grew from beans that dropped last year. You have more zucchini than you know what to do with, and you're giving it away to neighbors who are still pulling out their credit cards at the garden center. That is the power of the $0 garden. It is not about being cheap. It is about being sovereign. It is about breaking the dependency. It is about realizing that the most valuable thing in your garden is not something you can buy. It is the knowledge that waste is food, that the ground is a bank, and that every scrap you throw in the trash is a deposit you forgot to make. The industry hides this because an informed gardener is a lost customer. A gardener who knows how to build soil is a gardener who never buys a bag. A gardener who knows how to save seed is a gardener who never buys a plant. A gardener who knows how to compost in place is a gardener who never buys a bin. So today, I'm giving you permission. Permission to let go of the rules they sold you. Permission to let your garden get a little messy. Permission to throw your banana peel directly on the ground and cover it with leaves. Permission to let the weeds grow tall and then cut them down and drop them where they stand. Permission to stop buying and start growing. The $0 garden is waiting for you. It has always been waiting. It is in your backyard right now, buried under the grass, hidden in the branches, sleeping in the soil. All you have to do is stop shopping and start digging. Because the best things in life aren't free. They're growing in the space where you decided that enough was enough. This is Everyday Harvest. Go build your $0 garden. The revolution starts in your backyard.